The Ukrainian military says it has broken through Russian defense lines in the southeastern Zaporizhzhia region as its counteroffensive continues. Officials say the breakthrough took place near the village of Verbove, with troops advancing through a crucial defensive front. The extent of Kyiv's gains are still unclear, however. Moscow's forces are heavily fortified in the area. Ukraine's counteroffensive has been slowed by extensive layers of Russian minefields, anti-vehicle defenses, and fighting positions. Meanwhile, in the east of Ukraine, heavy fighting is raging around the ruined city of Bakhmut. Here, too, the counteroffensive has been slow, but Ukrainian officials say it's also tying up Russian forces that would have been deployed elsewhere in the invasion.
Pounding the Russians again. Western-supplied artillery like this howitzer is vital to Ukraine's counter-offensive. Here around Russian-occupied Bakhmut, it's been slow going, although Kyiv captured key villages south of the city last week. Ukrainian gun crews say their shells are making life miserable for the Russians.
They hate our hardware. That's what we gather from the intercepts that we had. We hear that we are giving them hell, and they keep wondering how much ammunition we've got left.
For that ammunition, Ukraine is reliant on its allies, with Kyiv firing shells faster than they can be supplied. But not all Ukraine's equipment comes from its friends. It's also captured hundreds of Russian tanks like this one throughout the war. Britain estimates more than half of Ukraine's armor has been seized from its attackers, and that's including modern tanks.
Those tanks were in service with the Russian army after 2014. For Russian tanks, they are quite new.
But with Russian forces dug in deeply on the front lines, Kyiv has had little success punching through with its armor. For now, at least, the slow attrition of artillery fire continues to dominate the battlefield.
Let's turn now to Munich to welcome Marina Moran, a military expert at King's College London. Marina, how relevant are these latest Ukrainian advances in the southeastern Zaporizhzhia region?
Hello, Michael. Well, it remains to be seen what happens in Zaporizhzhia, because what we have seen is a small breakthrough. However, armored vehicles are still to follow, and we're talking about the breakthrough of the Russian defense lines next to the village of Verbove. However, the problem is to get to the actual village. There is still about a mile left to the village, and Ukrainian forces see themselves under artillery and drone strikes from the Russian side. So it is a good moment if the Ukrainian forces can actually use this breakthrough to get in more vehicles and to get to Verbove. However, according to Ukrainian reports, this would not be a major success for the Ukrainians. What they want, at least, is to take the city of Tokmak.
Allow me to ask you to paint a picture of the Russian defense lines in this area. How layered and dug in might they be? And give us a sense of how difficult it might be for the Ukrainian military to penetrate them.
Well, we have to understand that there are three different layers, so to say. Broadly speaking, we have anti-tank ditches, we have dragon's teeth, so essentially those are reinforced concrete blocks to prevent movement of heavy fighting vehicles, and also zigzag trenches, which are backed up by Russian artillery and Russian snipers. So these defenses are spread out and they are integrated. So we have a sort of a system of systems in Zaporizhzhia. So not in all places they are the same and of the same quality. And you can see that next to Verbove, for instance, they had the dragon teeth and the ditches, but then these ditches are constructed on the second line of defense, so to say, again. So it is repeated, which makes it very difficult for the Ukrainians to penetrate them. There are some openings in the Dragon's Teeth to allow the Russians to retreat if the Ukrainian offensive is successful. So that makes it very difficult for the Ukrainians to get through with their armored vehicles. So they have to operate in small teams, bearing in mind that the Russians can see them at all times and deploy their drones to attack the Ukrainian troops. There are also mines of different kinds. So the Ukrainians would need engineering units to clear the mines in order to be able to advance. So this is why the advance has been very slow and difficult for the Ukrainians.
Slow and difficult indeed. That is Marina Moran from King's College London. Many thanks, as always.
Thank you very much.
And for more, let's bring in Mike Martin, a war studies senior fellow at King's College London. Mike, good to have you with us. What can you tell us? What can you tell us about these Ukrainian advances through Russian defense lines?
So the advances around Verbove that you just mentioned are really the main efforts of what Ukraine is trying to do in this counteroffensive, which is to cut through the Russian lines in the south, going towards the Sea of Azov. The particular advances in the last few days have got through the second Russian defensive line. So there are three main Russian defensive lines there. Several weeks ago, they cut through the first one, and now they're through the second. So the Ukrainians are making good progress in the south, and I think this is sort of what they were expecting to do a couple of weeks ago, and now they've done it. So it's good news.
Good news in the south for Ukraine, but the fiercest battle continues on the outskirts of Bakhmut, with Ukrainian commanders claiming the use of heavy artillery there inflicting hell on Russian lines. What is the situation there?
So Bakhmut's in the east, and your viewers will probably remember that this was the city that the Russians took last winter at great cost. And what the Ukrainians have been doing is they've been keeping the pressure up on Bakhmut because the Russians spent so many troops trying to take it that they can't lose it. And so it ties up a lot of Russian troops in the east. And since the start of the counteroffensive, the Ukrainians have not necessarily been pushing at Bakhmut, the city itself, but they've been pushing at the flanks. So they've gone to the north and to the south. And just in the last week or two, they've taken Andrivka, which is a major settlement to the south. And if they keep going like this, they're going to be in a position where they can encircle Bakhmut.
In terms of peace prospects, speaking at the UN in New York, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Ukraine's peace plan is not realistic. What do you make of that statement?
Well, President Zelensky outlined a 10-point peace plan that included such controversial things as respect for international law, human rights, ensuring the territorial integrity of other countries. Of course, these are all normal things, and we would expect Russia, which is a country, it's a permanent member of the Security Council, we would expect Russia to, of course, agree to these things. The reason the Russians think it's not realistic is because if they agree to the peace plan, they must respect the territory of Ukraine and therefore withdraw their troops. And because they've conducted a brutal invasion, that to them is simply not possible. So not realistic is a euphemism. It's diplomatic speak for, of course, we can't agree to that because it's directly counter to our interests. This will be settled on the battlefield, the Russians said, and I think the Ukrainians agree with that.
All right. Mike Martin there from King's College London. Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you.